The White House have called it a stunt, especially considering these people are going willingly, many of them apparently trying to get closer to where their family may be in the U.S. as they await trial. One Texas journalist says he sees through all of it. Managing editor of Reform Austin and Pulitzer Prize-winning political cartoonist Nick Anderson is up late with me tonight here on the Final Five to break it all down. Nick, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's talk about what we've seen at the border, because if you listen to Governor Abbott, he said this is his way of countering what he considers to be the Biden administration's abdication, open borders, whatever he wants to call it, at the border. You're down there, and I'm curious what your take is on what many see as some think is logical, others say it's ridiculous.
Well, I think at first glance, it looks like it's really tough, but it's actually not, because for the reasons you stated, it's voluntary. They've already been screened by federal officials. People that do this do it because they want to. It actually incentivizes border crossing. It's just a publicity stunt. This should be paid for by the Abbott campaign, not by taxpayers.
We know that many states, some along the border, others not very close to the border, I can think of Iowa is one of them, have been sending National Guard members down towards the border, saying that they're going to step up, they're going to enforce these immigration laws. So why do you believe that this is the step that the governor is taking there? And is this a problem that is as bad as Greg Abbott and other Republicans say it is down along the southern border?
Well, I think it is a real problem. I mean, even a lot of the Democratic representatives along the border want to address this issue, but the National Guard cannot enforce immigration laws. It is a waste of resources. We are spending something like $2 billion a year for to deploy the National Guard, and they're just out there looking at dirt. If they see somebody that's crossing the border, they could call immigration. That's all they can really do. They can't enforce it. The Texas troopers are down there, and they are trying to arrest people on trespassing, but it's only if they are on private property. So there have been allegations that they're taking people that cross the border, putting them on private property, and then arresting them on trumped-up charges. It's an enormous waste of money to have the National Guard down there deployed. These people have lives, they have careers, and they're stuck down there. We've had high suicide rates among the National Guard because they're going stir crazy down there, and they're losing their careers because they're deployed for so long, and they're not accomplishing anything.
Mm-hmm. You know, for years we've talked about something along the lines of immigration reform. During the previous administration, the topic of DACA came up quite a bit. Really, we've seen it. We've seen the political football bounce back and forth. There was never any solution. There was never any compromise. There was never any solutions made there. So what needs to be done? I mean, is this something that should be done on the state level? Is there something that federal lawmakers can get together to do? Or is this just a matter of it, being convenient politically not to do anything?
It's a really good question, and I think that gets to the crux of the issue. Obama wanted to do comprehensive immigration reform, and he pushed it in his second term. And the Republicans said, we'll work with you once you secure the border. Obama deported more people than any president in history, but they still wouldn't work with him. And the reason is that the Republican Party, unfortunately, benefits from the status quo. They will not work on comprehensive immigration reform because they keep getting reelected because it makes people so angry. So what you have is a need for comprehensive immigration reform, which would entail a guest worker program. We've got 12 million people here, at least, that are here not illegally. Mm-hmm. And if we deported all of them, it would be very difficult for our economy. It would push inflation up because wages would be going up because you have to then compete for American workers. So it would be inflationary, which we already have a problem with, and we would have it would hurt our economy, and we also need to address the immigration courts. We have multi-year backups with the immigration courts, so these cases can't be processed. And so what you have is just a catastrophe, a real problem, but we can't get it addressed because we have to have a bipartisan solution, and we have to have it federally. because it's a federal issue.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen until both parties are willing to take this on. And if people keep voting for this, the status quo, we're not going to change.
Nick, I have about a less than a minute here, but it is an election year in Texas. The last Texas race that I think we all looked at was 2018, Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz won that election, but Beto O'Rourke did something that Democrats don't do in Texas normally, which is, get very close to 50% of the vote. He is running for governor against Greg Abbott, but Greg Abbott's been elected twice already based upon what I would imagine policies that the people of Texas have agreed with. Does Beto O'Rourke bring anything different to the table here? Oh, I mean, what happens as we go into November, and what could change between now and then?
I think Beto's got a really tough uphill climb. Ted Cruz was pretty unpopular. He's even people who vote for him don't necessarily like him that much, so get close. Well, I'm afraid it's true. And so Abbott is, he's controversial within his own party because some people don't think he's conservative enough, but he's still preferred by a lot of Republicans and centrists over Beto. Beto has unfortunately been a little too nuanced in the immigration issue. He's called for an end of Title 42, but then he said, but we need a solution at the border first. So he's been accused of kind of flip-flopping or trying to have it both ways. It's a really tough issue for Democrats because Democrats are frankly split on this issue.
Yeah.
Some Democrats want enhanced immigration and others want tougher enforcement at the border. So it's a really tough issue.
One thing we did see in the primaries is you did have Greg Abbott challenged from several who were to the right of him, and he won pretty decisively. So we'll see what is the status quo and where the public sentiment is as they go to the polls in November. Hey, Nick, I got to leave it at that. Thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And the Final Five is back right after this.